What is up? It's Dave, it's Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from South London riff slingers, Burner. The band's new album. It all returns to nothing. Will be released on June 23rd via Church Road Records.
Things are starting to make sense.
Oh, are they?
Although the placement, I would never in a million years have picked London.
No.
No. I was trying to wait to see what American state they were from.
Right.
But yeah, no. I don't read the blurb. I constantly feel the need to use that as my first foot in every... I don't read the press, so this is my education as well as the dear listeners.
So, the debut LP.
Every time you say sentences like that, I realise that we wasted about 7 years being in a band.
Yes, we
like
did.
just pissed it up a wall, Dave. Is what we did.
Yep. This follows on from the band's 2022 EP, A Vision of the End. Building upon their already unique and recognisable sound, It All Returns to Nothing is an exercise in concise, pummeling hardcore blended seamlessly with death metal traits with a healthy dose of black metal thrown in for good measure. Recorded by Lewis Johns at the Ranch.
Of course.
It All Returns to Nothing is 11 tracks that display a band with insatiable hunger and an undeniable craft in writing crushing, extreme music. So, just to pick up on the Lewis Johns thing, we interviewed Lewis Johns last year, and he may have...
How long ago was that?
Yeah, he may have mentioned, I don't know if it was on the recording or off the recording, that
I think it was off.
Was
yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
He mentioned that he was working on the new album from Burner. And because of that, it's kind of been on my watch list for a while. And then obviously I'd heard, oh right, they're on Church Road Records as well. This is all starting to make sense. So, Duncan.
Yes.
33 minutes.
That's 4 wanks, Dave.
Only the 4?
Well, that's with time in between to have a sandwich.
Okay, that's making sense.
Got to have a sandwich after the second one to keep your power up.
Well, that's right. Keep that energy high.
Energy high.
Although, if you're looking for energy, the new Burner album may do the job.
You didn't fucking wank to this.
No, that'd start a fire.
That could be a
Burner.
A nub by the end of it.
So, what did you make of the debut album from South London's Burner?
You know that way where someone tells you a fact and you just kind of wish you had like a bit of cake just to bite into, just to go, or an apple. Actually, an apple would be something with a crunch, something that just fills your mouth so you don't have to communicate. It's kind of how I feel at the moment. So it's interesting because even from the kind of statement there, the kind of press blurb there, the emphasis they were leaning on was hardcore with death metal elements and that blackened tinge. I would probably aim them more in the death metal category than I would necessarily the hardcore. And that's not a slight of me being pedantic. It's just I hear a lot more death metal in here than I do. I mean, there's definitely the hardcore breakdowns and the vocally speaking, the attitude there.
Yeah. And
the blackened element speaks for itself. But there are so many tropes and little tweaks and quirks of death metal through this that it kind of feels like that might be the main driving force, specifically in the percussion. Like the drumming on this one is a death metal drummer. This is not a hardcore drummer, right? Let's just get that out the fucking way straight away. There's a lot that reminded me of loads of different bands, though, from different sides of the. There's a weird kind of There's a little bit of the Hatesphere in here that I kind of fucking love.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Sickness Within, the era Hatesphere. Specifically vocally, I love the vocalist because he has that really kind of guttural, right, angry tone. He's got a really cool mid-range that he leans into as well, but he also has this lower tone that he goes to every now and again when it sounds like he's doing one of those death metal you know, the kind of spitty sound that I can never do, obviously recorded evidence, that he leans into, which it reminded me of that, just like a degree of ferocity that comes out of like rapid drumming, fast picking, and just brutal fucking vocals that like evoked memories of that. But in a time period where we are getting a wave of kind of old school inspired death metal bands, Burner actually sit comfortably amongst those without necessarily being one of those ilk. The tropes and techniques they are utilising are very much akin to late 90s, early 2000s death metal in the best possible way. That's just they happen to pick one of the best producers in the world right now to produce their fucking album, so you hear every click. It's fucking savage. Let's just get to that. It is absolutely and clean. You eat a fucking dinner off this sound. Like, is that fucking clean? Like every, like especially on the drums, like every little flurry, every little like ride hit, you know, like is just it's so clear. It's like it's just like perfectly placed. And it needs that because a lot of those riffs, they're not like super detuned, you know, like a deathcore band or anything like that. So I think it needs to be right behind the drums, right behind the guitars, in order to really punish you with that sound. Song wise, I mean, you get it's all kind of in the pocket, but it's what they do in terms of the little accents that give all the songs a character.
Yeah.
Like, you strip those out, this is a kind of bog standard death metal album with little elements. But it's all the little quirks on the guitar, the little fills and little stabs that the drums do, the little kind of Archspire-esque on the vocals, where it gets a little bit playful at times, to add a little bit of that kind of attitude in there. But there are tracks that show the band have a different side, whether it's something like Trinity, which for half its runtime is just giving you that, you know, really, really rapid stuff, but then goes into this really gloomy, clean guitar, echoey, reverby section, which opens up the sound. So it's Pillars of Shame that has all the heavy stuff, and then Trinity opens up the sound. And then you kick into Prometheus Reborn, which is a track that actually starts the second half of the album. So if you imagine everything up to that point is giving you like this kind of ferocious, kind of rapid, fast, death metal-y, black and tinge things, as soon as you come through Trinity and Prometheus Reborn, you get grooves. And it just hits you straight in with this big, chunky, fucking thrusty groove that hits you in with it. And you get another side of the band which seems to just materialise almost out of thin air. It's not once again reinventing the wheel, but it adds a welcome change. It's not where you expect it just to pick up after that interlude, but that interlude's used for a really good reason. The back half of the album for me is where things fucking shine, because I think this is the one where they actually get a bit more experimental and start showing a bit more of their character, whereas the first one really does set a very, 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 very interesting, very brutal, solid template. By the time you're getting through the Long March and into the Affirming Flame, the band are stretching things out. The Affirming Flame being a long-form track from the band, where they really do, and when I say long-form, I'm talking 7 minutes, from a band who haven't went beyond the 4-minute mark on any other song on this album. They're more than double in their length. The risk on that always, as the listener or the reviewer, is it just going to be like 4 minutes of a build-up and then the conventional song tagged on? And it isn't actually. The Affirming Flame has plenty of movement and character, and it makes you on a lot of levels appreciate the journey that it takes you through from start to finish. It's a song that merits the listener and rewards them in a lot of respects. And then we bring it in. There's a lot of references to different things. So I'd be super curious to speak to them, because obviously Pyramid Head to me is a reference to Silent Hill. Waco Horrors obviously must be a reference to Waco. Waco Horror is the closing track. 1 minute 10 seconds. right? And they're not doing this is our experimental song to close out with. They're like, no, this is the last track someone's going to hear. And we spoke about this recently with a band, I think it was Pupil Slicer actually, another Lewis Jones, where we basically said, it finishes with a song that when you're finished, you're like that, oh, it's finished. Right, I'm going to start again. Week of Horror is that. It's short, snappy, right to the point, hits you all those things, big burst of energy, finishes, and you kind of like, right, Hurt Locker again. Let's just swing it back to the start. Supremely powerful, super fucking tight, really well executed. The guitar work alone shows like it's like an old head on a young man's body. It just has all those quirks, and it's all the stuff that like you get from listening to like a really good Morbid Angel album or a really good Cannibal Corpse album, where they'll do something you're like, bands don't do that anymore. They've got all through this. And I cannot shortchange the drummer enough. The drummer is fucking great. And this is really, 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 really good. And like it does exactly what you want it to do. It's blisteringly fast when it needs to be. It's punishingly heavy when you want it to be. It's produced fucking great, and it's short. If only every album like that's super fucking heavy was shorter. Under 35 minutes. It does exactly what it does. It leaves you kind of wanting more, and also kind of puts you in the position where debut album, you're gonna start thinking longer term. What's going to come next? They show a great mastery of lots of different techniques and lots of different styles, with a really, really, really strong core. That they will chew up the live scene in the UK. They will like fucking God forbid going on after them. You know what I mean? That's like that's like you know what I mean? Like as a band, like any band going on after them would be fucked. Like what they have right now is the perfect opening band length album. They could play this album live in its entirety. It'd be savage as fuck, and then drop a mic and wait for someone to pick it up. It is that way. It's a pure statement of intent, in the best possible way. And once again, I want to repeat phrases I've used in other reviews. I was about track 3 when I was thinking, oh, Big Davey's fapping it to this. You know what I mean? He's fucking absolutely loving every fucking second. And that was without the Lewis Johns connection. This has got you written all. Like, if ever there was an album written for you this week, it was this one. Surely.
Maybe
Surely,
Duncan.
Dave.
I was looking forward to this one. And then when I saw 33 minutes, 11 tracks, I was like, okay, sign me up. And this is like zero fucks given for your eardrums on this, like absolutely none. I went and checked out the EP from 2022 just to see like where it came from and if anything had changed. And the ferocity again is very high on that release. With like this album, it's a very good mix of styles as well. I feel on this release that kind of blend of death metal hardcore with a bit of black metal, I think it's been fleshed out a little bit more. Some of the black metal flashes on the EP were quite subtle in the guitar chords. You could hear the blackened streak, but it wasn't like, oh, check out this mayhem-esque riff or anything like that. You know, it was like more a tonal change rather than anything like, here's the black metal section. And again, it's very carefully blended here on the album. It doesn't come across as them just, pasting genres together that, it feels clunky. It's very methodical, and getting that kind of perfect blend to give them a sound that stands out. I think methodical is probably a good word to describe this album, because whilst it has chaos and a relentless kind of intensity to it, it does feel like kind of like what you were saying. There's far more attention to detail, and the writing and the switch ups, especially on the album.
But stuff that you can overlook if you're not paying attention, and that's sure. Like to me, like when you're like my reviewing ears were on for this one. I'd like if I was just stumbling across this one, I don't know if I would have enjoyed the experience. I don't know if I'd be flourishing with as much credit as I just did in my review, because it's all that subtle stuff. It's all those clever switch ups that really are like that's a smart way to do things. Or that takes me back to that. That's very indicative of a particular era, a particular band.
Yeah.
Sangwa Sugabog are a band that do that really, really, really well. Now their switch ups are really fucking good.
Yeah.
They disguise them under a lot of quirk and a lot of nonsense, but they're a surprisingly smart band. And Burner remind me of that, the way they piece stuff together.
Yeah, I think part of that is also because they have 11 tracks to impress, and having that length, they're getting the opportunity to really show kind of all the different levels of their sound. And first and foremost, it is fucking crushingly heavy. The punch that this album delivers is devastating. It's kind of like going to the dentist to get your wisdom teeth taken out, and I'm telling you, I've actually ran out anaesthetic, but you should be fine. You should be absolutely fine.
You walk it off.
Yeah, lies, Duncan. That is lies. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it like a fucking roundhouse kick to the face, which is what this album feels like. But as I said, zero fucks given.
It's a blood sport roundhouse kick. And that is going to hit you, then you're going to get 7 replays of the same kick, just hitting you in the same spot.
Part of that intensity does come from the production, which which I'll come back to. But a lot of it is just in the way that these guys approach each track and how violently it's delivered. The first 3 tracks do hit you like a freight train, just like 3 freight trains. Like there's no gentle intros, there's no clean guitars. It's just, we're going to light this fuse and here we fucking go. And that first track, the Hurt Locker, it probably leans more at the band's kind of hardcore sound. It's got that groove, it's got speed, it's got a lot of raw power, and the breakdowns. I was getting like hints of like Vamachara, or funny you mentioned Hatebreed. I was picking up a little bit of a Stampin' Ground type feel.
Oh wow,
kind of later in the track. But then on the title track, you've got more of that, but with more of those death metal elements turned up a bit. There's more blasts in the drums. The riffs take on a more kind of trem picking style in places, and then Pyramid Head continues that kind of ferocity with another mix of those styles. But there's some like kind of mathier, those kind of like shrieks and screeches in the guitar work, which was pretty cool as well. However, the combo of Struggle Session and Pillar of Shame was probably where I started to really pay attention. Struggle Session drops that tempo ever so slightly to give you more of a kind of ongoing groove. It's a little bit less chaotic in style for the first couple of minutes, but I like that they did something clever towards the end of that track. They start to feed in more kind of blackened tones in the chords, and some more like kind of higher register screams, which kind of sets up Pillar of Shame. And I would say this is probably my favourite track on the album, because it does start to lean more into a kind of blackened sound, and it ups the level of like epicosity. We'll just bring that word back as well. It has quite a majestic kind of feel, in the tone of the track. There's some really nice bleak melody in there. Almost reminded me a little bit of Conjurer a little. It's a nice shift in the album to break up the kind of relentlessness of what you've just had. And I think it was probably around that track that like the penny kind of dropped, and I was like, I kind of understood what type of album this was. It's an album that there's more beneath the surface than you would think. Like you said, if you actually put your headphones on and really listen to this, although it's loaded with like breakneck riffs and huge breakdowns, but there's detail here if you're willing to look for it. And sometimes it's only a blast in a few seconds, but there's a ton of moments where the things do get slightly more technical, and they show there is another level to their playing. And I agree with you. I think in particular the drummer Hugo is a fucking beast of a player. Unbelievable. He has. But the drums obviously is one thing that I go to regularly. Being a drummer myself, it's something that I'm kind of always listening to. He's got a really just natural kind of groove to his playing, which I love, but his bass drum work is fantastic, and those fills are super tight. Like, they are spot on every single time. And also I love the fact that if this wasn't heavy enough, they add in this it's kind of like an octaver type sound in the guitars at times.
Yeah.
It's like, and it just thickens them right up. You get it a few times throughout the album, and it just sounds like monstrous. The riffs at the end of Prometheus Reborn, and also the end of, I think it's EF5, just that kind of eye-wincingly heavy moments. The guitar sounds guttural, the guitar. I really liked the clean part in An Affirming Flame. I kind of, once I heard that, I was like, oh, I wish they'd done more of that. Like, I really liked that touch of clean in there, really textured, really expansive. And it's just created such a nice contrast on that track. Same for the blackened stuff. I think they seem to really kind of go in on it a little bit more on Pillar of Shame, but they don't use it as kind of obviously on a lot of the other tracks. I think they could probably lift the ratio of that a little on those elements. I think it would bring this album up again. Production, like as you said,
he touches, man, everything he touches.
Yeah, it's weird though.
Unreal.
Like his production is so good, but this sounds so different to like stuff he's done with like People Slicer or Rolo Tomasi. This is like getting fired, like just like a flamethrower, just burning you down. Basically, it starts on full heat. Yeah. And aside from a couple of moments, it never really cools down at all, but it totally works for their style. Their style is abrasive, it's bludgeoning, so like having a soft, delicate production on this album would not have worked at all. It's intense. Even it's only 34 minutes or whatever, I felt every second of it. But the tones are awesome. The guitar tone is unreal. The drums are absolutely pummeling, and those vocals are scorching hot. Like another debut, another band that you need to keep an eye on for sure. They've came right out of the gate with like a clear goal for this album, and it was, just to put their name right on the map, and job done, because this is impressive. Really enjoyed this one. So ratings for Burner's debut. What are you thinking?
It says a 4 from me. I think it has everything. All the tools are there. I think you're right. I think the show, it's a short album. I don't want it to be any longer. I think they've mastered the perfect length here. The selfish part of me would like to see more of that clean stuff, because I think they do it really well. Yeah. They do everything on this really well. Yeah. If it was maybe in there a bit more, it might become a little bit less special. So then I'd be like, well, we need to lengthen the album so we can give ourselves more. And I don't think that works. As a debut, it surgically does exactly what it needs to do. Yeah. It delivers all the ferocity, all the stuff that will make this very easy to recall later on in the year. Like when we're sitting discussing bands that have had an impact or things, Burner are going to be in that conversation, because they're showing so much whilst teasing so much more that we don't have yet. This is like, his debut's got fucking absolutely red hot. And I'm sure we could throw more puns in the way of flames and heat and all the rest. It's Sex is on fire, Dave. I'm giving that a 4. I think this is fucking great, and come on, let's go and see them live.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm saying that about every band now, just because I've got the gigging bug back in me, and I just want to see these guys fucking tear up the stage. You know what? You gave me the dream gig that I didn't want. Burner and Conjurer, and then I'll just go into a cave for a month to recover. This is shit hot. Yeah. What about yourself?
I'm coming in with you, actually. I'll give this a 4 out of 5. I love the intensity and the fire just behind every single chord, every drum hit on this. It leaves a mark for sure. I think, for me personally, I think I'd maybe adjust the ratios a little bit. I think I'd bring that blackened streak up a little bit more, maybe experiment a little bit more with the expansive side, and I think you've got the complete package here, to be honest. This is awesome. Like, really, like, give this one a listen. You will not be disappointed with this at all. So it's a 4 out of 5 for me. So the new Burner album is out on June 23rd. Comes out on Church Road Records. Links below to the band, links below to the pre-order. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Stick some comments in below. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.